Okay, right, and we're now talking about prompts. And the reason I'm talking about prompts is basically, even although people are still being very sophisticated, some guys are going to be building really good agentic AI. Most of you guys will be still working on the prompt side of things. So we'll probably do this in class quite a bit, and we'll look at a whole series of different types of prompts. And we'll look at how you do your prompt engineering, okay? So one of the first things is to look at, here's just a couple of things I'll pull up, okay? We want to move beyond this classic question. It's one of the problems that you get. Still, I see it with students, I see it with loads of guys. They're still trying to use AI the way they used to use Google, right? Okay. It's as if they're doing a classic search. And really, what you need to do with any prompt is you need to give it more detail. Okay. You need to be creative and you need to what's called iterate, okay, because you need to work the prompt to get it better and better, okay. And the more you do and the more specificity you get, so the more specific and you hone in your area, the better that'll come. Okay, so you then get this classic things again. What we talk, I've got this here zero and few shot, which is classic examples, which is helping the AI to understand basically what it is you're really looking for. Okay, now some guys always talk about, oh, it didn't work, the AI was really rubbish. Well, I would say, well, what was your prompting like? What kind of prompts were you using? You know, what did you do? And more importantly, oh, it hallucinated. Well, you can also go into your personalized settings in your classic large language models and most of the AIs, and you can personalize them and you can tell it, you can give it a thing called a truth prompt, which you put in. So it makes it so it's not going to be completely free, but it's going to be less biased and it will hallucinate less than it might normally. But you've always got to be the human in the loop. You've got to question it, you've got to critique it. You can't just let the AI do it, go to sleep. You've got to put a bit of work in here, guys, and it comes down to the prompts, actually, okay? Right? Zero shot, obviously, basically, exactly says zero shot prompts basically is where you don't give them any examples, right? Okay. And chain of thought reasoning, that just breaks it down into little tasks so you can understand it, right? Again, we do it, we give the classic and classic prompting, you would give it a role, okay? You would tell it you want it to be, is it to be professional, is it to be enthusiastic? How long do you want it? And what format, what output format do you want it in, okay? Tell the AI, okay? And this is where template structures come in. So a lot of classic prompts, and I can give you, one of my favorites is Sabrina Romanov. I can give you literally tons and tons of prompts. And one of the things that people, it always amazes me, they forget, you can ask the AI to give you a prompt. You can iterate with the AI. You just talk to it. And you say, like, I want to build a prompt to make me a marketing campaign. I'm trying to build a new website. I'm looking for a new policy on, I don't know, conflict management. Whatever it is, you can talk to it and it'll start to build a prompt. And if you know your area, you'll see that it's starting to give you a really good prompt and you can reiterate it. So you do it iteration, you keep going back, no, I want this. So you talk to it. So you're having a conversation with the AI to build you a prompt. So rather than you sitting and saying, oh, I don't know how to do it, the AI can help you do this, okay? So it's really quite simple in a lot of ways, but people try to keep using it just like Google. So you need to move beyond that questioning. Structured templates are dead easy because here's some here. You see what I mean here? You've got them here like tag and solve and dream and mind. These are just classic ways of showing how to do your prompt. Okay, you give it a situation, you give it an objective with the classic solve, tell it its limitations. Okay, right? Okay, the vision and the execution. The easiest one you hear all the time is the classic tag, right? What is the task that you want it to do, right? Okay, what action you want it to do, etc. And when you go and set it to go. One I used to use a lot was what's called Ryzen prompting, where you give it this, you give it a role, you tell the AI, right, that you are a world class marketer, let's just say, you are a chartered accountant, right? Okay, in UK chartered accountancy, and then you give it an input, you give it information, the data you want it to provide it. That's a little bit of context. We're going to go to context prompting in a minute. Then you give it a series of steps. You want it to do A, B, C, okay? And then you tell it what you want the desired outcomes or the deliverables that you're looking for. I want you to do this for me, and I want you to give me in that format. And the narrowing is really good. You tell it, you ensure that you do not do A, B, C, okay? So Ryzen prompt is quite a good way of doing it, and it's still used quite a bit today. So these templates, and I've got loads of these I can give you, okay, to help you if you need. In a lot of ways, you don't really need them anymore, but they're quite good to get you to structure to think. But I can give you them, okay, if you want them, right? Often they talk about this difference between what they call prompt engineering and what they call context engineering. Well, the easiest way with context engineering here is just to think that context engineering is far more authoritative sources. So you're maybe giving it a whole series of materials, right? So you're given a whole series of materials, allowing it to create a context. You're framing it. So if you just think of you, it's like giving you, not rather than just, generically talking about an audience. Let's say, oh, I want you to create a brand campaign for, 18 to 25-year-olds on Calvin Klein or something like this. Okay, well, wait a minute, who are you talking about there? Where do they live? What is the demographic and the psychographic profile of this audience? So you frame it with much more deeper data. You provide it with a selection of documents and images. The more information you can give it, the better. You create a logical ladder. In other words, you emphasize the thing that's most important to you at the top and least at the bottom, right? Okay. And RAG just means retrieval augmented generation. Okay, so that's just basically how it retrieves information. If you get the logical ladder right, it will pull it back in relevance because it says this is most important. So it gets that data first, right? Okay. And most importantly here, the key thing here is this idea of constantly refining and reinforcing. So this takes a bit of time. Okay, you're actually putting a document, you're building a whole document or framework all around your context prompt before you feed it into the AI, but it will give you far, far more detailed information. And what's really good about this, Steve and I chat about this quite a bit, once you build these, all you can do, let's imagine, I'm just thinking of if it's for finance or HR or for any of you guys, once you've created one, right, what you can do is you just take out the context. And we'll talk about this in the workshops, okay, and get you to look at context engineering. I'll give you an example, okay. Don't want to chuck it up here now, but we'll do it at the workshop, okay. The key thing is the context engineering is far, far deeper. You have to do a lot more homework. And this is, again, I come back to you and you'll hear me, or my guys will hear me talking about the D factor all the time, which is really all about how you don't want to be distracted or duped or disempowered by AI. In other words, you think, oh, the AI will do it for me. No, no, no. What I'm trying to emphasize with these prompts, whether it be classic prompt engineering or classic context engineering, fundamentals of AI, guys, you're going to have to still do the work. The AI isn't going to do it all for you. It's as simple as that, okay? Right? But we'll come back to these in the workshops and we can discuss them and show you context, okay? Now, just to finish, I'll look at the time here. You guys are always interested in tools, and I know this is the time that you all jump up and say, oh, that's interesting, give me them, okay? And it really is this idea that it's a revolution, and I talk about power and potential, but actually that prompting stuff and understanding more about the models of AI and what they can and can't do, that's the homework. That's what you need to do to see if it fits for you. So you're going to have to go away and play with them and work out yourself. You're going to have to do a bit of work here, guys, okay? But there is tons of tools, and I always do this with people. So here's your classic LLMs, okay? Your DeepSeeks, your Sonnet, and these all do things slightly differently. Interestingly, I tend to use Grok for doing some of my kind of classic searches for me and agents, and it goes away and does a pile of work for me, and it brings it back every day, okay? Perplexity is one of my favorites, again, if I'm doing like some kind of research, basically academic-based stuff. Claude, I use Claude every day. Basically, I've got it actually here on my desktop, I've got it built in. But all of these can do different things, okay? And you can use them obviously everybody's on GPT. I'm not even going to mention it, right? But anyway, this is a classic language model. The question is what's the best? I should have said if I go back, if I click on this, it will give you a hyperlink which discusses the good, the bad, and the ugly about all of these models, okay? And I'll send that out to you on Classroom. So you need to be on Classroom, guys, okay? Right? So it's not just going to the site. So a lot of stuff in the site, I won't put it there. I'll put it on Classroom because I'm going to be pushing content out all the time. And hopefully the other members of staff will also be pushing content out. So you have to be in Classroom, right? Okay, it's up to you. That's the whole idea behind it. Social media, obviously, the marketing guys will like this. Okay, classic, some of the kind of classic kind of platforms you could use. I mean, Blaze. I mean, the marketing guys, I say, just go and have a look at Blaze, guys. It's pretty mind blowing stuff. It's really, really cool. Basic stuff. My social. Text to video content. You'll all be doing this. Most of you guys will be doing here, be here already. So I'm kind of preaching to converted here. Okay, these are just some classic kind of platforms. I see loads of guys on CapCut and Synthesia. One of my favorites way back in the day was InVideo, which was really kind of quite cool. Web builders, basically, you want some web builders. Here you go. 10 Web is probably one of the best. One of the things when I say that's the best, this is one of the things to remember for all things. Theo and I argue about this all the time. What's the best? What is the best today is ancient tomorrow. That's the speed of AI. Okay, which reminds me, right, of a colleague and a good friend of us for Accenture, Nick Rosa. He came and he put up some bright things, and Theo and I were killing ourselves laughing because he put up, here's some of the best tools from last month, and he puts on old. Here's some from last week, old. Here's some from 2 days ago, old. That's the speed we're moving at. So while I say, oh, well, 10 web's great, right? Well, it could be ancient by the time you've even listened to this. Okay, the key thing is you need to do your homework again, right? Um, Avatar stuff, just to finish. Here you go in audio. So those guys who are into music and stuff, you want to add music and you want to create AI-based music stuff. Here you go. There's kind of stuff you can use. Loads and loads of stuff you can use. Sora is one of the best music ones. I don't even have it up here, right? Anyway, these are loads of tools, right? What we're not going to do is the big thing here. I should finish this last slide on this one. Look at the time. Is paid and free. Yeah, that's why I've got this here. Okay. So while we're in a course and we're looking at the fundamentals of AI for business and in business, we're trying to look at this. And I know that you're students and I don't want you to pay for stuff. Okay. Right. That's the key. Now, yes, VO3 stuff, fantastic. Hey, Jen, really, really great. Right. Sora 2, you can get stuff. Nano Banana's free, so that's Google again. Part of the reason we use Google Workspaces because we've got lots of stuff built in there, and you don't need to pay for it. So I don't want you to pay for it. So this is a big issue here, and I mentioned it to my guys. I mentioned it in the very first week. I don't want you to pay for stuff. I want you to be aware of AI. I want you to be aware of what underpins AI, the subfields, the stuff I spoke about earlier. I want you to be aware of what drives in it, the classic Holy Trinity stuff that I mentioned earlier. And I want you to be aware that you need to develop your prompts, you need to work your prompt engineering, and you need to get better at it. That means you need to put some effort in. But clearly, because I know students are even skint, I don't want you to pay for stuff unless you've really done your homework and you know that's a platform or a tool for me. Okay, right. On to the last thing, which is something you'll probably like, because hurry, it actually talks about applications. Okay, and I'm going to come into this in a second. So this is go to that. This is the last clip coming up. Ciao.